The Holy Tales.
Hello! I am back with my friends Gumbo and Freckles. And now we'll be going to Holy to listen to a new Bible story. Come along with us.
Oh, Holy, you are up today?
Yes, I am. I was waiting for you children. So, are you all ready to listen to a new Bible story? Oh, yes! Of course we are! Well, then let's start with it. Today's story is called The Sun Stands Still. Joshua and the Israelites set up a camp near the people of Gibeon, and they agreed with the king of Gibeon that they would live in peace. However, the king of Jerusalem was afraid that these two nations might come together and attack on his people. So the king of Jerusalem went to the kings of 4 other nearby nations and declared a war on Gibeon, thinking they would beat the Gibeonites in their own plan. As soon as the 5 nations attacked, the king of Gibeon immediately sent Joshua a message for help. Joshua did not ignore him, and right away marched his army to the raging battleground. God told Joshua,
"Don't be afraid of them. I am delivering these 5 nations into your hands. You will win, and not one of them will be left standing."
It took all night for Joshua's army to reach the battlefield, but when they did, they took the enemy soldiers by surprise. The Lord made the enemy soldiers confused, and they didn't know what they were doing. This made Joshua and his army defeat them easily and chase them away. As the enemies were running away, God sent a hailstorm which killed more number of enemy soldiers than Joshua's army did. During the battle, Joshua with all the Israelites in front of him said to God,
"Make the sun stand still. Hold back the moon so that we can have complete victory today."
God did it. He made the sun stop in the middle of the sky and made it stand still for a full day, and there has never been another day like that. Everyone knew God was fighting for Israel. Wow, Holy! That was a wonderful story. I really love it.
The Holy Tales.
This story should be interesting. The story is about why God chose a new king after Saul. Okay, let's begin with the story then. God chose Saul as the first king of Israel, but unfortunately, Saul always did not make good decisions. Once, Israel was in an ugly war with the Philistines, and for 7 days, Saul and his men hid at a place called Gilgal, where they waited for Samuel to arrive, as that was what Samuel had asked them to do. The Israelite soldiers were so afraid to fight the Philistines that they started fleeing, one at a time. So Saul decided to take matters in his own hand and offered a burnt sacrifice to God. The moment he finished with the sacrifice, Samuel arrived and asked,
"What are you doing?" "My men are afraid to fight the Philistines, and they are starting to run away. I had to stop them. I was seeking God's help because without His help, it is impossible to fight the war."
If you had obeyed God's command, then He would have made you the king of Israel forever. But now that you have disobeyed Him, your reign must end, as God has already chosen a new king whose heart follows His.
Samuel said. Another time, Saul once again disobeyed God by not destroying the Amalekites as he was ordered. Instead, he captured the king and let his own soldiers take a lot of cattle and sheep. When Samuel challenged his disobedience, Saul had an excuse.
Yes, I have brought back the king, but the rest of the nation is all wiped out. We brought back the best of sheep and cattle to use them to make our sacrifices to God. He wants our sacrifices.
Yes, he wants our sacrifices, but he wants obedience more, and you have disobeyed him. It is obedience that pleases God.
Samuel said firmly. God was done with Saul's excuses, and he chose a new king for Israel, who Samuel would anoint very soon.
Saul shouldn't have disobeyed God and should have followed his commands.
Yes, but he didn't.
The Holy Tales.
So, today's story is about a kind woman called Abigail, who helped David and his men. After Samuel's death, David with his 400 men camped near a place called Maon, where a very rich man lived, called Nabal. Nabal owned 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and lived with his beautiful and kind wife named Abigail. David heard that Nabal was shearing sheep, so he sent 10 of his men with a request of sharing some food with them. They said,
Remember a while back when your shepherds camped near us? We provided them protection and never took anything from them. Would you show us similar kindness by giving us some food?
David's men were shocked by Nabal's refusal. He said,
Go away and leave me alone. I would never share my hard-earned food with a bunch of people I do not know.
David was furious to hear Nabal's response and decided to attack and fight them. This frightened Nabal's servants. One of the servants went to Abigail, Nabal's wife, and told her everything that was happening. David was always kind to us, but Nabal's mean behavior is now going to put us all in trouble. David will kill us all. Abigail immediately took action and loaded up donkeys with 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep, a bushel of grain, and 300 cakes. She sent her servants to inform David that she was coming with all the food that he required for his own men. When Abigail went to David, she bowed low to him and requested, Please, sir, forgive me for Nabal's mean and wicked behavior. If I knew that your men came to request food, I would have given them some myself. Please accept all this food and spare the life of Nabal and our servants. David was pleased to hear what Abigail said. He said,
Thank you for stopping me from doing anything wrong. I had planned to kill Nabal, but now I will spare him for what you said. Go back and know that all is well, and I will not attack your people.
The next morning, Abigail told Nabal the news. Nabal was so shocked that he had a stroke and died in a couple of days. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he married Abigail himself.
That wicked man, Nabal, died out of shock. Serves him right.
The Holy Tales.
Holy, holy, tell us a story.
Oh, yes, of course I will. Today's story is about how the nation of Israel got divided. Solomon was the king of Israel, but he disobeyed God. God warned him that he will lose the position of the king if he continued disobeying him. So Solomon left all his kingdom and wealth to his son Rehoboam, who did not honor God either. Rehoboam was such a terrible king that it led to the division of the kingdom into two parts, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Jeroboam was the son of one of Solomon's officials, and Solomon had put him in charge of some work, as he was a very capable boy. One day, a prophet came to him and tore his own robe into 12 pieces.
Take 10 of the pieces.
He told Jeroboam.
This is what God says. I will give you 10 of the tribes of Israel. I will leave one tribe for Solomon's son, and one for the sake of my loyal servant, David.
This angered Solomon, and he tried to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam escaped to Egypt. When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam became the king of Israel, and he went to Shechem, where officials had gathered to crown him the king. The people of Israel, along with Jeroboam, went to speak to Rehoboam about the heavy taxes that were imposed on them by King Solomon. They requested him to lighten the load, and they would be his loyal subjects.
Give me 3 days to think about it.
Rehoboam responded. He took the situation to some of King Solomon's advisors, who advised him to do as per the demands of the people. This would ensure the loyalty of the people of Israel towards Rehoboam. But Rehoboam ignored their advice and did what the younger men told him to do.
Tell them to stop complaining, or else you will pile more taxes on them and need more labor.
3 days later, when the people of Israel came to hear Rehoboam's response, they were upset. He had rejected all their requests. Rehoboam sent a man of his force to restore order and subdue the people into serving him. But the people of Israel stoned the man to death. The northern tribes of Israel refused to serve Solomon's son and made Jeroboam their king. This is exactly what God had planned and warned Solomon years before.
Solomon should have obeyed God and simply listened to him. Then the nation wouldn't be divided.
The Holy Tales.
Today I'm going to tell you another story about the man called Elijah and how God saved him from the drought.
Whoa! That sounds quite interesting. Awesome, Holy. Let's get on with the story.
All right. The two kingdoms of divided Israel were Israel and Judah. King Asa ruled Judah, while King Ahab came to power over Israel. King Ahab was an evil king and did bad things in God's sight. He even built a temple to worship the false god Baal. Elijah was God's loyal servant. He took a message from King Ahab from God. He told King Ahab,
The God of Israel, the God I serve, says there will be no rain or even dew on all the land until I say so.
God asked Elijah to go and hide in a place where the Kerith ravine joined the river Jordan.
You can drink water from the brook, and I will send ravens to bring food.
God said. He said Elijah would be safe there, even though the land would go into a drought. It was impossible for food to grow without water. Elijah did exactly what God asked him to do and hid from King Ahab, who was extremely angered by him. God sent ravens every morning and night to bring food for Elijah. Elijah stayed there until the brook from which he drank water completely dried up. There was no drop of rain or dew on the land throughout the time Elijah stayed there.
That was a wonderful story, Holy. I loved it.
Me too. I am glad. So now it is time for today's question. Who was the king who ruled over Judah?
I know. It was King Asa.
Well done. I hope you got it right too. We'll be back soon with another brand new story from the Bible. Till then, bye-bye.
To watch more videos, please subscribe.
Plants and trees. On the fourth day, God created the sun to shine in the day, the moon and stars to come out at night. One day, Moses went to Mount Horeb with his sheep. There, God appeared to him as a flame of fire in a bush. Since there was no room anywhere else, they decided to spend the night in a stable. Here, Mary had her baby, Jesus. She wrapped him in a blanket and put him to sleep.
He's got the whole world in his hands.